So there comes a day in every man's life when he goes out and gets that ring and gives it to a woman that is very special to him. Will you marry me? What? No, not that ring. I'm talking about that sick-ass rare ring to put on your sorceress and get out there and slay demons. So yeah, today we're going to take a look at what exact stats you want to roll on this rare ring to make it absolutely godly. And then at the end of the video here, I'm going to show you an example of a literal, absolutely perfect rare ring. It's probably worth more than your car. Now, the first thing we'll talk about here is the difference between a prefix and a suffix. Now, we don't need to go crazy into depth, but essentially, they're two different groups of stats that the game will then roll, that RNG that you hear people talk about all the time, and decide what actually is going to end up on the ring. Now, how would you usually value some of these rings? Well, I'm going to go ahead and put down in the description just a quick little overview of how the point system works. Here's a list of different stats and stuff, whether it's FCR, attack rating, strength, and a bunch of different things like that. Each one of these that a ring has will add a half point or a point depending on how well they actually roll. And when you add it up, you can get up to a 6-point ring. If you find one of them that does actually end up being a 6-point ring, you, my friend, are going to be incredibly wealthy, just swimming in burr runes. Now, there is a limit to how good these rings can be, and that's why that 6-point system works so good, because you can only get 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes on a ring. So some of these things you would want them all, but you just can't get them because you can only get 3 from each one of those tables. Now, for the suffixes that are the best, generally you want to get 10 FCR on every ring. There's some rare instances where if you don't get FCR, it could be a good melee ring, but in general, you always want to have 10 FCR on them. A couple of the other best types of things you can get on it are the strength and generally probably the life. Some other stuff that is good, but not necessarily as good as those. You can get life and mana leech, and you can also even get like dexterity as well. Now, myself, I'm primarily a magic finder, so it might not add as much to the value as some other things, but I also look for, of course, magic find on these rare rings because, like I said, I'm out there always farming and always magic finding. It's kind of my love of the game. Now, coming in talking about the prefixes, this is where some of your resistance help will come from, because you can get up to 11% to all resistance, and even on top of that or separately, you can get an additional 30 to an individual resistance. Whether you're talking about PvP or you're talking about player versus monster, you're going to want to get these resistances to help out your survivability no matter what. A couple other useful stats here that you were hoping to roll is you can get up to 120 to attack rating. Technically, you could get up to 150 because there is a secondary affix roll where you can get light radius and up to 30 attack rating, but generally you're not going to want to get that one. So we'll just talk about this in terms of on this particular prefix roll, you can get up to 122 attack rating. Now, this could come on a ring that doesn't have any faster cast rate, so solely for melee characters, or it could be some sort of hybrid PvP build where you have the FCR and the attack rating. Next up, you can get up to 90 to mana here on these rare rings. So that can help out whether you're energy shield sorceress or really any of the casters. You always need mana to cast those spells. And then crazy oddly enough, kind of, and once again, I will specify this is my own preference. I am a magic finder. You can get an additional 10% magic find here on your prefix roll. So actually you can get 15 magic find from the affix roll and then another 10 from the prefix roll, leading to a total possible of 25 magic find, but that does take up 2 of the 6 possible chances to get good stats on the ring. Now, kind of knowing what to get is all well and good, but how likely are you to actually find a ring with all this stuff on it? And for that, we're going to take a look at some of the best rings I found on my single player Diablo 2 Resurrected. Since I've been playing it, I've been putting in quite a few hours live on stream here, right on this channel, by the way, so make sure you subscribe up, give me a follow if you ever want to catch me streaming live. But here is one of the better ones I found. This is a strictly melee character. You know, it can get up to 120 attack rating, so it's kind of low on the attack rating. It's got dual leech, so that could possibly be 1 point there. You'd have to go ahead and look at the full list of stuff down below that I put a link to that tells you exactly half a point for this much or full point for that much. But replenish life is another one of the things that PvPers kind of want. Since you can't actually use health potions and things like that, you can actually gain life back by having replenished life on certain piece of gear. The mana is also a little bit low. It's not perfect. The all res a little bit low, not perfect. So this is a okay melee ring. Nothing is super high, but it does kind of have all the stuff you're sort of looking for. Now here is a pretty darn good one. Once again, melee ring, but it's got 58 to attack rating, so about half of the max. So we call it like a half point. 17 to strength, it can have up to 20, so not quite a full point. 14 on the dex, 1 off of the max there. So maybe we'll call that about a point. 40 to life, the max on that one, we'll give it a point. And it has 10 to all res, so we'll give it a point for that, with a little bit more on the poison res, but it's kind of low enough that I wouldn't even necessarily call it a thing. So that right there is a pretty darn good melee ring actually there too. So here's a little example of a okay caster ring here. You got the 10 faster cast rate, you have 26 on the life, that can roll up to 40. It has 9 to all res, which can be 11, but you do get a little bump up here having the poison res up to 31. Now the poison res, if you're rocking that immortal sorceress, is pretty much the only thing that really hurts you is the poison damage, because it doesn't go towards your energy shield. So this is not a bad ring specifically for those energy shield sorceresses when you're out there magic finding trying to survive. Now nothing on here is absolutely perfect, but it's a pretty good ring. Another okay one right here, we get some faster cast rate. We've got the attack rating is pretty good. It's not the max of 120, but 77 is sort of up there above half, I suppose. 14 to strength, which can be up to 20 once again, but it's getting close. And we got a couple of resistances. Having the lightning one is mega important, because generally fire and lightning are the most important, with really lightning kind of being the most sought after. Another not bad one here over on my sorceress. We got the faster cast rate, we got actually minimum damage, which would kind of go towards melee characters obviously, and 112 attack rating, which is real close to being up there at the max. So a couple of stats if you're some sort of hybrid teleporting melee character there. You got cast rate and some stuff to help out the melee characters there with attack rating and minimum damage. You got some energy there to help out your mana situation a little bit, and you got a little bit of poison and lightning resistance. So we got 2 rolls on this ring for singular resistances, so that's kind of an unfortunate way to get that to happen, since you could just get 11 all res and it would be way better than just those 2. But once again here, not too bad of a ring, but if you notice a little trend here, none of them are exactly quite perfect. And that trend continues here with this other option right now. Faster cast rate, we got 58 to attack rating, 57 to mana, and 12 to magic find. So this is kind of one of those ones that I'm talking about, to where you get the magic find on it to help out your characters when you're out there slaying those demons. That's going to be a wasted roll for the people who want to do PvP, and generally, I'm just going to admit it, PvP people are the ones that drive the value for items. So really, in their mind, and driving the value in runes for trading for something, the magic find is really going to hurt the value of the ring. But this is single player for me. I love playing single player, so that's beneficial in my opinion. So you did notice the trend, and I did mention it. None of these rings even rolled as really perfect. None of these are even probably 5-point rings. Maybe 1 or 2 could be considered a 4-point ring, possibly. But that's how rare these can be for all these different things to all roll together. Now, I've been playing single player here for quite a bit. I've probably ID'd hundreds and hundreds of rare rings, and I haven't really even gotten a single really godly one. So as for how often are you really going to find even the really good ones, let alone the absolute perfect ones, it's incredibly uncommon, but that's why this stuff can be so valuable. So now we'll take a look at what I think is a literal perfect ring that I would love to find and use on my characters. It does diverge slightly from what ring would actually be the most valuable, because I do primarily get out there in magic find. I guess if I really had to take a choice, I'd rather find the more valuable ring, trade that away for so many burr runes I'd probably have to make an entire mule account, and then trade for the ring that I would want. But we're going to go ahead and just show what I would hope to find, perhaps maybe on my single player account or something like that. Now the first one we'll take a look at here, you got to start off at the base, 10% faster cast rate. That doesn't roll within a range or anything. 10% is just what you get if you get that FCR roll. Next up, we'll get that maximum of 20 to strength on this ring. That way you don't have to put points into strength, and then you can instead put points into your vitality. And for the final roll here, we're going to go with 15% magic find. Now, if you remember what I said earlier, you can actually get a double magic find roll on the prefix and the suffix. So we're going to go ahead and take that 15% right now. So now we'll swap over from the suffix to the prefix. And with the first roll, I'm going to go ahead and get 11 to all resistance. And that is the max you can get for all res. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the next one. And I'm actually going to go with 40 to fire resistance. So even on top of all resistance, you can actually get another roll to an individual resistance. Now, I went ahead and took fire res because that way you can make up for the missing fire res on your spirit shield, which is primarily used on almost every single caster in the entire game. So now we got one more roll left here, and I'm going to go with 10% magic find, adding to the 15% before, so we get the maximum of 25% magic find here. So it's like taking a Nagel ring, getting rid of all the other garbage that's on the Nagel ring that you don't really care about, and substituting it with some absolutely amazing other stats. Now, since I'm primarily a magic finder, that is going to be the ring that I really would love to find absolutely perfect for my magic find characters. But that is not the most valuable ring, and that's what I'm going to show you right here, an absolutely perfect ring that'll get you swimming in burr runes. And actually, if it comes to this ring, I'm going to say forget the burr runes. I'm even going to forget about the terms of service. I'm going to be completely honest, because this ring could literally go for hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's how rare this is. As far as I know, I've looked around a little bit. I tried doing some snooping online. I could not find an instance of an absolutely perfect ring like this dropping. I know the game's been out for 20 years. So statistically, I would think that it would have dropped at some point, maybe? You let me know down in the comments if you think this ring could have ever possibly dropped. But now let's get right into what would you need to have on this ring. First of all, we're going to start off with that base of 10 FCR. Not absolutely mandatory for a godly ring, but for the best possible one, since the casters reign supreme in Diablo 2 Resurrected, you need that 10 FCR. Next, we're going to swoop in with that maximum of 20 to strength. That's 20 points then that you don't have to put into your strength in order to wear your gear. So that would be 20 points then that you can then put into vitality. And then next up, talking about vitality, we're coming in with 40 to life, which is once again another max roll. Now that is the suffixes right there. We're heading over to the prefixes. And first up, we're going to go with 11 to all resistance. This one's pretty self-explanatory again, a maximum roll, and you always need to get your resistances capped out. Now that we got that 11 to all resistance, we're going to vary a little bit from my ring that I thought was perfect for my particular magic finding build. And instead of the fire res, we're going to come in with 30 to lightning res. I just feel that for certain types of builds, you don't want to get zapped by the souls. In PvP, lightning, from what I've read anyways, is a little bit more important. I'm not a PvP player, but like I said, I did read that when doing a little bit of research for this video. So we'll go with the maximum roll of 30 to lightning resistance. And coming in with that one final one, we're going to put 90 to mana on this ring. So you notice this is almost the same as my perfect magic find ring, but we just knocked off the 2 magic find rolls and slid in here with the 90 to mana, swapped out fire res for lightning, and that 40 to life. Now this ring right here would have me second guessing real hard whether I really want to follow that D2R terms of service or not.